Hey, I'm Ben Silverio.
I'm Warwick Johnson.
And I'm Ansel Birch.
And it's
Time to party!
This episode was recorded on August 9th. We are not doctors. We don't give medical advice. Please drink responsibly.
Yeah, that's right. I know the Tokyo Drift song.
That's the song from Tokyo Drift?
No,
Wow.
that wasn't the only one who was like, oh, okay.
Wait, how many times have you seen Tokyo Drift?
So much.
Have you?
Yeah, when that movie came out, my cousin would bump that tune whenever we go driving.
Okay, all right. Oh, that makes sense.
Hey, party people. Welcome to Time to Party. Welcome back. Hopefully, you're coming back.
And now it's time to cop.
Time to cop. That's where we're at. No, ACAB.
That's ACAB. Okay, sorry. ACAB includes time cops.
Yeah.
For
I was
the
ask
record.
if all time cops are bastards.
All
yeah.
time cops are bastards. Okay, well, there are 4 time cops, I think, total that we see in this movie.
Yes.
Half of them are evil and working for the bad guy.
Right.
So already off, not to a great start.
Right.
Bruce McGill, solid dude.
Solid dude.
In the film. Most recently seen in the Jack Reacher TV show, where he plays the evil mayor. Spoilers. I mean, you can tell he's evil. He's got a cane, so of course he's evil.
He's a politician.
Dead giveaway.
He's a politician. But he is, I think, the only one that I would consider to be a good cop in this.
Mm-hmm.
But again, constantly needs to be reminded that Jean-Claude Van Damme is his friend.
Correct.
So not very
forgetful
reliable.
cop.
Yes.
Very forgetful. There's also the weird pervert guy.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would
only in the
consider
one
him
timeline.
a cop. Yes, in the main timeline where everybody else
In the sacred timeline, he's kind of a pervert.
in the sacred kind of a pervert, he is watching porn at work. That is a level of pervert that is a firmly established on
but
the
also,
pervert
it's
side.
VR porn.
Yes,
It's not
which
regular
is
porn on a laptop
worse.
or anything. He has the headset on and everything.
It's so much worse though because it's like an immersive porn.
Sure.
If he was sneaking pics at like a penthouse, like a 2004 future penthouse,
What if
right?
he was just wearing the headset from Demolition Man?
Oh boy, that'd be much worse.
That would be way worse.
because they'd have to like scrub his thing.
Right.
Actually, do you want a fun piece of trivia about Timecop?
Oh my god.
Because I
do.
have some trivia.
Uh-oh.
notes.
I enjoy that you moved your notes with significance.
Yeah, because since this is an audio thing, I wanted to get the whole feel to it.
If it doesn't pick up on the mic, I'll put it in post.
So the virtual reality nude scene was originally supposed to be a nature documentary about beavers.
Wasn't it still?
No, well, sort of.
Ah!
So the off-site film team got drunk the evening of shooting and ended up at a strip club. The next morning, they woke up late, realizing they'd missed the bus to the nature reserve. And so they instead had to film one of the dancers that they had met at the club the night before.
Hilarious.
Yes. So that is why it is a VR lap dance because of that.
That's so funny.
Isn't that hilarious? When I read that, I was like, that's terrific. And of course, it fits in the 80s, 90s action movie like boob criteria.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but they already reached that with the sex scene. So this
did.
is like a little bonus one.
Bonus.
Well, let's go back for a second. If
Sorry.
you don't know what we're talking about, this month on Time to Party, we are talking about the Jean-Claude Van Damme classic, Timecop. As I mentioned in the first episode, we are being joined by Warwick Johnson, writer,
Co-creator of The Empty Grave,
yes,
grad student, noted bald man,
and
so.
sometimes roommate.
sometimes roommate, very infrequently.
Yes, I thought
Deadbeat fish dad.
if you don't know what Timecop is, here's what our good friends at IMDb tell us about it. Max Walker, an officer for a security agency that regulates time travel, must fend for his life against a shady politician who's intent on changing the past to control the future. Yes, so
Bum, bum, bum.
Warwick, why did you
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
pick Timecop?
So I picked Timecop because this is one of the action movies that I watched a lot when I was a kid growing up. So my brother and we got super into action films around the time that we were in like well, he was in middle school. I was maybe a little bit younger. And so we had like Demolition Man on VHS. I recorded Timecop I taped it onto from our VCR. This is a very old time sentence off of HBO, so we could watch it again. Because I wasn't made of VHS money. And so we had these action movies that we would cycle through and we would watch all the time. And it was actually funny because when I told Ian that we were going to be doing the show, I was like, oh, hey, I'm going on, Ben's time travel podcast. Do you want to guess what movie I picked to do? And the first thing he says, he's like, Timecop. Without a doubt. Yeah, so there's just something about this movie that just really resonated with me as a kid. I think because A, it's ridiculous. B, it's very fun and silly in a way. Like it's just full of a lot of great Jean-Claude Van Damme quips, which I always have really appreciated. And it's to a point that, like, as a comic book fan, as a wrestling fan, and of course as an action movie fan, all three of those are genres where quips and like clever insults or comebacks are like how you get to be successful, right? Like that's like a big thing. And so I think because this is like kind of a little bit more of a fun. Also, this was like a darker film from the ones that we watched, because his wife dies in the beginning of the film. And then it gets intense at times, he has to go on the run. Like the future is all fucked up and he has to like go back and fix it. Like it gets like crazy.
Does it hold up from what you remember?
Yes, it does, because it's such a short film.
Sure.
That I basically remembered all of it. And so I was like, yes, nothing is really different here. Although I will say this, because again, I was a child when I watched this. I didn't realize what they were doing when they went back in time to the computer processor thing. I didn't get any of that. Just completely went over my head. Like how when I watched Jurassic Park as an adult for the first time, all of the lawyer stuff ties into the beginning scene, and I never got that as a kid. I was just like, what's going on?
Yeah.
People are going to Jurassic Park? Cool. There's a lawyer here? I wonder why he's there. Oh, well. And just never thought about it. But Jurassic Park is such a tight movie because it all ties together. Timecop, not a tight movie, does not tie together. I just didn't understand what's going on with it.
So one of the early scenes in Timecop, we start out in 1929 New York City. And Ansel,
the very beginning of the film is with Confederate.
That's true.
But yes. But sorry.
But
1929.
Right, yes. In 1929 New York City, we get Jean-Claude Van Damme chasing down a time criminal. And Ansel, I need to know, is shit an appropriate curse word for the 1920s?
I think so. Yeah, I feel like shit is a thing that 20s folks would have said.
Really?
Yeah.
It kind of stood out to me when the villain, spoiler alert, that Jean-Claude Van Damme is chasing is his old partner. When he says shit, it seemed out of place. So like I asked Warwick, I was like, is this appropriate language for the time period? And I don't know. I couldn't really find much on the topic.
I also think that they have him say it because they do want the audience to know, oh, this guy's from the future.
Sure.
I think that's also why the way he says it feels very incongruous to the world around. Of course, we've also like watched him use like a weird disc man and stuff. So I mean, like, oh yeah, this guy's from the future. He also has a newspaper with the date firmly printed on it. So you're like, oh, it's a future newspaper.
Yeah.
As we mentioned before, they kind of take Biff Tannen's plan. But
No, they straight up.
Yeah.
The villain's plan in this movie is just Biff Tannen's from Back to the Future too.
yeah, but they're all buttheads, so it doesn't work.
It's true. Biff is way more successful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. I mean, it carries over to more of the movie than
Biff only had to change one thing, though.
Yeah.
Like, all he had to do was go back in time, make one bet. Then everything else sort of went paved out from there.
Well, he kept using the book.
Exactly.
Though. But the thing is, he did it the smart way, and he gave it to his past self, and then let his past self do that. McComb is like, I'm going to keep going back myself to personally change time, because past McComb seems like a nice guy.
Yeah.
So what happens, do you think, in the intervening 10 years?
We have a very Adam project.
Yeah.
How did this character become the villain?
It's true.
I'm very curious to see that.
Broken heart.
Aw. Yeah, probably. He sold his shares in that processing company, and then his wife left him.
Oh, I figured his business partner was more than a business partner, and after that, he got real sad.
He
shot time cops.
Yeah.
And then...
But yes, so in the 1920s, he has to stop his former partner,
right?
Because ATAB, all time cops are bastards.
Yes.
And then we get some sweet future Jean-Claude Van Damme mullet action.
That mullet.
The mullet, it's the best. He looks like he came straight off of the ice for the New York Rangers.
Yeah.
This is peak Jean-Claude Van Damme mullet. I always call it a Jean-Claude Van Mullet.
You walk into the barbershop, ask for the Jean-Claude Van Mullet, and they know exactly what you're talking about. It's like walking in and asking for the Rachel. Mm-hmm. It's very similar.
Yeah, Rachel Bilson from the OC.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
That's the noted hairstyle.
That's the only famous Rachel that we need to know, right?
Yeah.
Right.
There's no other. There's no other Rachels
that
in
one
pop
and
culture.
Adams.
Yeah.
Rachel McAdams.
So let's briefly talk about the villain, though.
Yes.
Because Ron Silver kills it, essentially. I think Ron Silver, if you had a different actor playing this part, I don't think McComb would make any sense.
He's a very good action movie villain.
Yeah, he's a great action movie villain. He's basically like if Ellis from Die Hard lived and became a time travel villain. So he wants to be president, but he doesn't have the money to be president. And so he stages these things to go back in time to make money. First, he steals a bunch of Confederate gold,
Right.
which was sure. Why not?
Steal from assholes. Why not?
Steal from assholes. Who cares? It's funny though because they just used them with the Confederate stamps on it, and I'm just like, it's gold, guys. You can melt it down and get rid of the evidence of your time traveling. But they were just like, nah, it's fine. We don't have time for that.
Very sloppy.
Very sloppy. They send a single dude back to rob the gold too, which is funny.
Yeah.
Very confident.
Yep.
A lot of this movie just does not give a fuck about paradoxes.
Oh, no.
Because there was that, and then when they were in New York in the 1920s, Lyle and Max are just shooting at each other.
In the office, in a crowded office,
Yeah.
they are shooting at each other like crazy. They don't give a shit at all if the people around them are like, oh my God, time travel must exist.
Yeah.
They don't care.
In fact, they jump out the window and then time travel back to the proper time in front of everyone on the sidewalk.
And then they put him in front of the weird tribunal, right? With the timekeepers or whatever the fuck.
Right.
And they're just like, yeah, you're sentenced. And they put him back right where they were falling. And so he falls to his death. And that is a very cold-blooded way of doing it.
Dark.
So dark.
Very dark. But also, B, his corpse is back in 1929. So, people are going to catch on, right? That he's from the future.
Well, it's not like they have DNA testing back then or anything.
Well, no, but if
Got all
you're...
this future shit on him.
Yeah, if you're doing an autopsy, you might be like, oh, that's weird. This guy has all these modern dental fillings. And they'll be like, well, how does this make any sense? Who knows what kind of chaos that would have, happen.
Yeah.
They could have just put a bullet in the guy's head, but instead they're like, nope, you're still plummeting. You're plummeting out of the building. That's crazy.
Don't they have a time prison?
Yeah, like a time cube or something. Also,
Put him
I
in
want
the raft.
No, what you do is you conscript those people to be time cops.
like in Loki.
like in Loki.
The TEC is basically the original TVA,
yeah,
the
true.
OC.
He Who Remains tried out Timecop's method first.
Oh my god. I would love to see a version of Timecop where it's Kang is replaces Ron Silver.
Oh my god.
And it's just like, and it's not even just like Jonathan Majors. No, I mean straight up that it's Kang.
Yeah.
And he wants to be president, and so he puts this convoluted time travel scheme in place.
Spoiler alert: Loki season 2.
Spoiler.
It's just
Timecop. Oh my god, I love it.
I bet with some clever use of Pro Tools, you could make this happen.
Honestly,
if only we knew a video editor.
Dun 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 dun. But so his scheme to have a former time cop place a bunch of make him money on the stock market fails because Jean-Claude Van Damme stops him. So he decides, okay, well, what I'm going to do is, since I'm hemorrhaging money, I don't have enough money to stay competitive in the race, I'm going to go back in time, kill my former business partner, and just take over the business completely because he developed these super cold, computer processors basically. So he does that, and then he has enough money that he's like a shoo-in to win the race. The one thing that Timecop absolutely got right about 2004 is that all you need in politics is money.
Yeah.
And money equals speech. And so then he just buys the election. And I was just like, yeah, wow, that was very accurate.
Well, now that we're talking about 2004, that is the future that this movie takes place in.
Yes, the far-flung future of 2004.
Right. And I do want to touch on the things that it got right.
Sure.
Because there are some choices. The cars.
Bold choices.
Oh man.
The cars are the most insane choice for a future car I think I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
It is it's a completely sealed pod where it's shaped kind of like a car, but it's got all of this stuff on it. It's armor plating for a zombie apocalypse.
It looks like outfits that Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch would be wearing.
Yeah, absolutely. Just loaded up with zippers and stuff.
Exactly.
So you can't see out of it when you're driving it. So the car drives itself, basically.
Yeah, it's a weird choice, but they totally got VR porn right.
They did get VR porn correct.
That is a thing now.
Accidentally.
Did we have that in 2004 though?
How good were smartphones back then? So that's the question.
Not
right?
good.
I feel like the VR back then would have been clunky, boxy, Tomb Raider.
Are we talking
I mean, we had Virtual Boy back in the 90s.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
Is it Virtua Boy porn?
Probably.
Where you have to put it on, everything's all in red and black.
Another note that I made was the TEC is so dark. What happened to light bulbs in the future?
Yeah, it's those high energy efficient bulbs, though. I mean, so that could also be considered fairly accurate.
Sure.
The thing that for me is in Jean-Claude Van Damme's apartment, he comes inside and there's this console right next to his door where it's it looks like a personal PC that's right there. That that's how he gets his messages and stuff. And we were debating. I thought that was a swing and a miss, but you thought that was pretty accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like some houses do have that.
Oh, that's very suburb now.
Yeah, a smart home
exactly.
kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, there are kitchens now with the smart fridge.
Yep.
Where you're okay, what's the calendar for the family?
Yeah. In Workaholics, where they can watch WrestleMania on the fridge.
Yeah. He has smart TV too,
He does.
which is accurate, right? Because he's able to say put on the creepy home video of my wife that he talks along with.
He does.
Maybe
That's how you
were just
know
20 years too early.
It's possible.
Because I mean, smart homes and integrated screens on every damn thing.
Yep.
That's now. Mm-hmm. The Tesla truck is absolutely the cars of this movie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The handheld, voice-controlled personal computers that the Time Cops use aren't just our phones now.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's the most accurate thing. Maybe not for 2004, but the future.
They are also right that all cops are corrupt except
Correct.
for Jean-Claude Van Damme and his best friend. Yeah, evil senator trying to take over the world. I mean, they got Senate subcommittees wrong, but that's also they got that wrong in 1994 too.
Right.
I mean, that's not a future thing.
The white supremacist party, yeah, they were right about that.
Oh yeah,
another
that's
note
right.
that I
The
made.
white supremacist party got like 5 or 6% of the vote. So if anything, it was a little low on their predictions. But yeah,
Well, it's 2004 though.
yeah. I mean,
They were a little less out back
a little
then.
less out. Yeah, that's true. There was another one.
Keep in mind that's when GW got elected.
Yep.
Right.
Jean-Claude Van Damme's son at the end of the movie is sporting some very weird clothes.
It's
I
true.
feel like that's pretty accurate. Kids' fashion was terrible in the mid 2000s.
I don't know what you're talking about. Me with my neon sleeveless hoodie and
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, sorry, that was Barack's election.
04 was W. Bush two, the wrath of W. Bush 1. Barack was elected in 08, if that helps. George W. went up against John Kerry in the 2004 election.
you mean Cheers guest star John Kerry?
What?
Yeah.
Seriously?
What? Yeah.
Oh, man.
Because he was a senator at the time.
No.
Did he have that Heinz money yet? That's my
Oh,
question.
that's a good question.
Probably. I think they've been married for like a long time.
Mm-hmm. Did we break Ansel?
I got blackout drunk the night of the 2004 election, so I very clearly remember it happening because we had the day off the next day for some reason, and I got rip-roaring drunk because I was very depressed about how horribly everything went with John
No,
Kerry.
yeah, you're right.
And I was like, okay, well, I'm too drunk. I'm going to go home. I'm like, okay. And so I took myself out of the party. I went home at the fraternity that I lived at. So I went back to the frat house, went to bed. And then I woke up the next day and I was like, I'm wearing my pants again. Why does my bed have all this mud in it? And then I discovered that what happened was I climbed into bed like a responsible person and went to sleep. And drunk Warwick woke up. So much like the Incredible Hulk. Yeah, so like a Jekyll and Hyde or the Incredible Hulk, I woke up and my pants were just covered in mud because I had tried to go back to the party and fell down, slid down in the mud. And at that point, I guess I decided, well, this isn't going to happen. So I went back to the house. But instead of going back to where my room was, I went to where my room was one floor below. And I went in there, which was my buddy Adam Hott's room, and he lived there by himself. And I apparently barged in, and he was like still up, like doing stuff. And he's just like, hey, Warwick, what's going on? And I just sat down in his chair, and then I just threw up all over his rug. And then at that point, I made it back to my room and passed out. All my clothes still on, covered in mud. So I was just like, and I told him, I was just like, I'm so sorry. I was like, I went to bed. I thought that my night was done, and I guess it wasn't. And he's like, it's cool, man.
Did you clean it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I went down. I think I like dry cleaned the rug or whatever.
Nice.
Like it was like I got it like cleaned and like returned
Handled
to
it
him
classy.
and handled it.
Good.
Yeah, I took care of it. The problem I think was that I think he had like a book or something that got like
Oh, no.
puke on it. When I was like, sorry, like I don't know.
Nothing I can do for
Irreplaceable
that.
first edition.
Well, I think it was like a
It's
note. I think it was like a
it's
notebook.
textbook,
I think
so
it was like
$800.
yeah. I didn't have textbook replacement money, so like. I was a very poor theater college student,
Sure.
so, I think probably I just didn't eat that Sunday, right, to dry clean his rug, like that kind of thing.
As a screenwriting and playwriting student, I completely understand.
So while the events of Timecop are happening, that's what I was doing. So I got rip-roaring drunk because I was upset
year
about
were
George
you?
W. Bush. I graduated in 07,
Okay.
so at
So you were
Illinois
a
Wesleyan
year ahead of me.
University. Shout out Titans.
That's when I graduated high school.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I know. I'm an old man. Full of regrets and burritos.
I'm an 08, so I'm
Ah,
not
there you
so
go.
far. But
Yeah. That's where it's at, man. That's that sweet spot.
yeah.
I don't know.
Let's talk about the time travel mechanism of Timecop.
Yes, at the TEC.
Right.
The Time Enforcement Commission, because they were like, we need to name this, and spent 5 seconds on it and did not go back.
No.
They were like, no notes.
No notes.
They went with their first idea, and we're like, that's it. Nailed it.
Sounds good.
Let's get lunch.
But
Because then it sounds like tech.
That's perfect. People hear Time Enforcement Commission, and they know that you're time cops. Just constantly puffing a cigar. So let's talk about
demanding pictures of Spider-Man.
the time travel device in this is completely insane.
Yeah, it's bonkers because
doesn't make
it's
sense.
like it takes two different movies' ideas of time travel and mashes them up.
1000%.
Because to go back in time, well, first of all, they can only go back.
They can only go back in time. Can't go forward.
Cannot go forward.
But they go forward to get back where they started.
Yes.
I'm just going to throw that out
Yes.
there, guys, because that's shenanigans.
They
They can travel back to the present.
Yes.
So they can travel back to, my guess is when they left.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would define the present otherwise, right? So like you are barely gone.
Right.
Which honestly seems like some sort of like horrible, like it reminds me of the fact that like flight attendants don't get paid when the plane is boarding and deplaning. They only get paid for in the air. And I'm like, your day is so much longer than what you're getting paid for.
Yeah, that is bullshit.
So does a time cop get paid for the time that he's gone? Because if he's hourly, right?
Yeah.
You could be stuck in 1994
Right.
for like a week. And then you come back and it's the exact same time. And you're like, well, you've only worked like an hour today, though.
Time cops have got to be salary, right?
I figure they probably are salary, but like, what
They're
are the
government
overtime?
employees.
Oh, yeah,
so-
God. 'cause,
government
yeah,
employees.
If you're gone for 3 months,
Right.
do you only get paid for the day that you were in?
That's the question. And so I think they only get paid from the day that they're in. And that's why all of the time cops are corrupt.
Corrupt, yeah.
Except for Bruce McGill.
That makes sense, yeah.
And I think Jean-Claude Van Damme is corrupt because let's not forget that he fucks with time for his own benefit.
He does.
So
He absolutely does.
he doesn't get rich, but he gets a live Mia Sarah.
And
So
a kid.
like, and a kid.
But yeah, so the time travel mechanism to go back
It's a rocket
involves
car.
a rocket car
Yep.
driving into a wall.
Yep.
And then once they're in the past, there's no rocket.
There's no rocket.
They just walk into the past.
They walk out of like a shimmery puddle.
What the fuck happened to the car?
Where is the car?
Where does the car go?
Like, it's one thing if you travel back in time and you can't have any matter on you, right?
Sure.
Like, other than your human
Terminator.
body. Exactly.
Yeah.
Terminator rules, yeah.
Exactly.
Terminator rules.
But they show up fully clothed.
Fully clothed.
So, like, that doesn't make sense.
And to
You were
get
sitting down a second ago.
Yeah, right.
right, and they're just like, whoop. I mean, like maybe that's what it is. Maybe when it hits a certain threshold, the thing like opens up and they like, haha, hop
Yeah.
out. You know.
But then where does the car go?
And they're very jauntily walking out of the weird like puddle, right? So that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And then to get back, they just have like what looks like an answering machine that they like push a button on, and then they are just like they go through the like shimmery puddle again.
Yeah. Why couldn't they just keep the puddle?
Why couldn't it could have just been the puddle?
They didn't need the rocket car.
Well, I think what we were talking about before, I think is right, is that they had two different ideas about time travel and they had to combine it. So I think that they were like, we have to use the rocket car because of the scene where Bruce McGill sacrifices himself to get it, like to up the stakes, right? So they're like, we're gonna launch it, and he's like pushing the buttons, and then the guards come in and they're like, hey, we're shutting this program down. And that like was what you'd think they'd be like. They'd be like, hey, we're government employees. We're trying to stop you. Instead, they just start shooting, which seems like a very weird response, like to them just like using equipment that they've used in their capacity multiple times.
Right.
And the guards are like, nope, time to kill this guy. And I'm like, wow, that is dedication.
Strange escalation, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very odd. Yeah, they didn't just like, I don't know, like pull the plug or like turn the power off. It seems weird.
Yeah.
But they needed that scene. So that's why I think the rocket car exists. And then they were like, well, how did I get back? And they just never worried about it. They were just like, we'll figure something out. And they just never did.
Yeah.
they just kept kicking that can down the
Movie
road.
over.
And they're like, well,
They had all these interior shots, and they're like, well, we can't bring the rocket car in here.
the crazy thing is when they come back, he's back in the fucking rocket car.
It's true.
And it's going the other way.
The rocket keeps coming back.
So somehow going through time, the rocket car pulls a Yui on this track
Right.
and pops out where what are the Mendoza twins?
Yeah. Oh, they talk about these two twins that end up as like stains on the brick wall.
He mentioned he's being followed by internal affairs because of course he is, because every time cop is corrupt. And so she's like along for her first jump.
Agent Fielding.
And so he's like, yeah, just ask the Mendoza twins like about like a rough takeoff or whatever. And she's like, okay, well, maybe I'll do that. Where are they? And she's like, you see those two red splotches? That's the Mendoza twins. And it's like, what a fucking horrible prank to play on someone.
It's a rough first day at the office.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about Ron Silver. We've talked about Bruce McGill. Obviously, we've talked about Jean-Claude Van Damme. But I feel like we should also talk about Mia Sara.
Yeah.
Just because...
Mia Sara, who has a thankless job in this film.
Right.
She is dead for almost all of it.
Yep.
She is immediately fridged, which is a huge bummer.
Yes.
But the scenes that she is in are very delightful.
Absolutely.
She plays the role of loving wife very well. So you'd be like, yeah, of course, I would travel back in time to save this Mia Sara. Like, you know?
And then creepy JCVD walks up behind her in a mall and says, "There's never enough time."
Yeah.
She says, "For what?" And he says, "To satisfy a woman." And I'm like, bro, maybe you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, I don't.
Like, how do you not satisfy Mia?
Van Damme a diagram, I think.
Yeah, whereas she's just like, all right, it's been 2 hours. We got a hard stop at 9. You got to pack it in, Max Walker. There's not enough time to satisfy her. I'm just like, I think that you're doing something wrong.
But Melissa Walker is with it enough to be like, it's okay, honey.
I swear they call her Marissa half of the time.
Really?
And Melissa the other half of the time.
It was when they were shooting the car scene.
Yeah.
It was Melissa, and then they changed it.
They were like, later, someone's like, I think Marissa sounds better. And so like,
Or somebody forgot partway through.
that could be, but there were a couple of times that I was like, they just call her Marissa? Like, I swear, I don't want to watch Timecop again so soon to find out, but I might and just be like, yes, I figured it out.
Question: is it cheating on your husband if you make out with a future version of him?
I mean, I think that's the ultimate question of time travel. We've asked it a number of times.
Yeah.
So I think Warwick is the only one who can, in good faith, answer this question at this point.
Short answer is yes. Long answer is no with a but, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
Because I think of, so what's that proverb where like a man can't put his hand in the same stream twice? Because when he comes back, the stream is different, but also the man is different.
Sure.
Right?
Just around the riverbed from Pocahontas.
Exactly, right? And so, like, the way that time moves and everything, people are different. So, like, yes, you're technically the same person, but you're kind of a different person. I think in the context of Timecop, it is cheating because this is a Jean-Claude Van Damme that has been without her for 10 years.
Yeah.
So it'd be one thing if they were together in the present and he comes back and he's like, oh, well, this isn't that weird. It's still weird, right? Yeah. Because it's like, like the splitting.
Came back in time for a booty call. Yeah, he's like, I'm going to make out with my dead wife. And she's just like, okay. So that's the reason why I think that it is cheating. But if the past self is cool with it, then it's fine.
Yeah,
right?
but he was knocked out after a fight.
Right. Well, that's the thing, right? So you got to have, so long as there's consent by all parties,
Sure.
I think that it's fine.
Kind of like polyamory rules.
Right.
Yeah, it's polyamory, timyamory.
There you go.
Could you imagine how much more complicated polyamory would be with time travel?
Oh my God.
I feel like we'd have to all move to polyamory if there was if there was this much time travel going on.
You'd have to, everybody would just have to like have
in the event of time travel waiver that
Yep.
they sign at the beginning of a relationship.
Also, just like everybody's going back in time to try and bang Cleopatra. That's like the first. That's
There's
like
just a line.
week
yeah.
one. There's just a line of time travelers out the door.
And Helen of Troy.
Yeah, I guess. But it'd be so funny if you go back in time to find Helen of Troy and you're just like, oh. It's like, yeah, well,
I mean, she's
800
BC 10.
Yeah, but she's like a 21st century like 5, and you're like, well, that's okay.
A 5?
I don't know.
Wow.
I imagine that the women of the 21st century are much more attractive than the women of ancient Greece.
Well, you have to say that because if Lindsay listens to this,
I mean, Lindsay would be like a 400 and 800 BC.
She's got so many teeth.
She's got so many teeth. She's got all of her teeth.
Fully functional organs.
Yep. They'd think that she was some sort of witch or god. She'd be like,
all the markings on her skin.
Yeah, all the tattoos. Her tattoos, I think, would still make sense to people back in ancient Greece. But mine would be very, very confusing for the people back then. They'd be like, "Well, what's this?" And I'd have to explain like what a gun is, And I'm like, "Well, I'm like, but it's a revolver from the Wild West," and so.
I think Tab would have an easy time going back because I think she could blend in as a cosplayer
easily. Yeah, as long
as long as she has everything with her.
And as long as she covers her tattoos, because she recently got a rebel insignia tattoo on her arm. She's got some muka on her shoulder. She could stand out for the wrong reasons in the right time.
True. Salem.
Yeah.
I think
basically avoid Salem in your time travel adventures.
Oh yeah, you can't go to Salem
unless you're a white dude. Like
even then.
Well, that's true. Even then.
Yeah.
Somebody could be like, "Witch."
Oh yeah. More weight.
Oh man.
So one of the things it's very funny in this one that they are pretty good about blending in when they travel back in time, with the very notable exception of fucking Jean-Claude Van Damme.
It's true. We've said how terrible he is at his job.
He's awful at his job.
It's multiple layers of being awful at his job.
Every single time that they go back, the criminals are in period appropriate dress. Mm-hmm. They're pretty good about hiding their future stuff. Like the guy's in his locked office when he like pulls out his like his Walkman.
The guy robbing the Confederate soldiers.
He's still dressed like a Confederate soldier.
He pulls out a future gun, but like that's not until he has to.
Also, he kills those guys.
It's true.
They're not. No one's gonna know. Jean-Claude Van Damme, though, everywhere he goes, he's just dressed like Jean-Claude Van Damme in 2004. And again, they get into a huge shootout in a crowded office in the 1920s.
Do you think the time cops are there to prevent splinters in time, or are they there to just prevent you from like stealing shit from the past?
So I think it's the latter. But on the readout, they're able to find this because there's huge ripples that are being created by changes in the time stream. So they're able to track people that are basically committing, like, stealing.
Yeah.
The entire film, no one goes back in time for anything more elaborate than basically just, like, a robbery. Mm-hmm. It's like armed robbery through time. That's what I mean when I say nobody has any imagination about time travel in this movie, is that their only thought is, well, let's go back in time and get money.
Nobody goes back in time to buy the building that will later be worth a lot of money.
Right. The closest we get is the ones that are like the guy who goes back, his former partner, who goes back in time to commit Wall Street schemes on the day of when the stock market crashed. Mm-hmm. That's it. That is the most imaginative part of it. Nobody goes back in time and they don't even pull the Biff Tannen. I feel like McComb, it would have been a lot easier for him to just go back 10 years and give himself the newspaper with sports scores.
Yeah.
A lottery ticket. There's so many easier ways than what he chooses to do. Now, I think that taking control of the company, that's smart. But that should have been the first thing. Right. That shouldn't have been the second thing.
Yeah. I mean, Adam Project.
Yeah.
When she goes back and tells her younger self what to do, that seems like the logical move. Mm-hmm. But McCone has so many hoops that he's making himself jump through.
So many hoops. And again, I can't help but point out, McComb creates his arch nemesis.
Yeah.
Because Jean-Claude Van Damme's wife is only dead because McComb sends people back to kill Jean-Claude Van Damme. And they fail, but they blow up his house with his wife in it.
Yeah.
And so then he becomes, like grizzled and sad or whatever. But again, two things. One, it's time travel. If he lives through your attempt to kill him, you don't just go like, oh, well, that was our shot. Yeah. You go back and do it again until you get it right.
What a lazy villain.
What a lazy villain.
Yeah.
And then two, when he finally does decide, okay, well, I do need to go take this guy out, he goes back to the exact same time as when he tried to kill him the first place. And I'm like, why not go further back? Why not go back when he's, a
baby,
or when he's just like a DC street cop, fresh from Belgium, little fresh-faced, Max Walker, coming in.
I mean, hell, an hour earlier when he's taking
at the mall.
At the mall, like there's so many things they could have done, and they're just like, nope, gotta be the exact same scenario.
In the shower.
We gotta get a bomb, set it for 5 minutes. That's it, total, and then that'll blow everybody up, including future Ron Silver.
Yeah.
Because future Ron Silver is just like, yeah, well, we're all gonna die. Like that's what he says to him.
That's true.
He's like, that bomb's gonna go off any minute. Which, okay.
Not any minute, a specific minute.
A specific minute. He says it's going to go off any second. And I'm like, the number one rule as a supervillain, if you have a bomb, is know when the fucking bomb is going to go off.
These details.
He said,
if you're in the blast radius.
It's not hard, man. Like set a timer on your watch. He's just like, any second now. And there was like a minute and a half to go.
Yeah, he had time.
He had lots of time. And so he's just like, he's expecting it to go off like right then. And I'm just like, okay, it's one thing if I do that when I'm like making pasta, right?
Sure.
But I'm not going to blow up if my pasta's like a minute later because I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that.
You're also not a time traveler. Like, time is...
Yeah.
Super important.
As a time traveler, you need to prioritize time.
Yeah.
But they don't give a shit about paradoxes in this movie.
No, they don't.
Because if that bomb blew up as Ron Silver intended, right? Then future Ron Silver would be dead, right? And so then that means that in order for him to go back in time and kill Jean-Claude Van Damme successfully, he would have to go back and die. But that's not, I think, what he's thinking. He's thinking that the new future, things are going to be fine and hunky-dory, and he won't die then. And I'm like, well, but no, that's not...
That's not how it works in this universe. Like
it shouldn't be, but there's so many paradoxes like that.
Right. And, another thing about JCVD's character is that he changes time and gets no repercussions.
No, he gets rewarded with it.
He gets rewarded. Like, okay, they're going after his partner for changing time and...
for getting money for another person.
Exactly.
That's what they're going after him.
Jean-Claude Van Damme goes back, and as a result, he benefits personally.
Do you think it's that the criminal code didn't change with time travel? So, like, theft is still illegal, but we haven't created a law for, fucking up the time stream.
It's possible, but... So, in 1994, he kills a U.S. senator, a sitting U.S. senator, that is still a senator 10 years later.
Okay,
so how much of a ripple effect did that happen, right? Now, you could argue that the U.S. senator is what proved his own undoing with that. And everybody kind of just rolls with it. They're just like, oh, yeah, McComb, disappeared 10 years ago, man. Like, nobody knows where he went. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, well... people would care about that, and they would investigate it and find out that he died in that building, but whatever. But now you have two people that were not alive before that are alive and doing things.
Yep.
So that's ripples every single time they do anything.
Yep.
Anything that they do causes a ripple. If Jean-Claude Van Damme's kid makes the varsity team and somebody else doesn't make the team, that's a ripple in time. So, I mean, it's possible that they're just undoing, right? So if if his wife is only dead because Ron Silver went back in time to kill her, that he's undoing that. Sure. And so now we're in the sacred timeline, is it, where she's alive?
To the prime.
It's possible. I think that's the only read that you could have on it. But they don't even fucking bother with it.
Exactly.
They don't even lampshade it at all. They're just like, no, this is fine. Nobody cares. Yeah. The end of this movie should be Timecop showing up and curb stomping Jean-Claude Van Damme and locking him up in prison.
Yeah, because the TEC doesn't have their shit figured out.
No.
You know, like they're only concerned about robberies.
That's it.
Throughout time.
That's the TEC is basically like the IRS is now, where they're so underfunded that all they can do is concentrate on the small crimes that they can actually tackle. I think that's what it is. I think it's all just a budget issue.
As opposed to the TVA where Mobius.
Mobius.
Not Morbius. When
different thing.
Different thing.
It's Morbin time.
It's Morbin time. When Mobius is trying to stop branches of the timeline.
Right.
You know, but the TVA is likely way more funded than the TEC.
Yeah, man. He who remains has got money to spare.
He makes it rain.
He makes making it rain on that TVA.
While we're talking about time enforcement agencies, here's the thing that always bugs me about it is that time enforcement agencies are always treated as a monolith, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like your time enforcement agency has to be sort of a fixed point.
Right.
But in a movie like Timecop, like they have not created a fixed time.
No. And in fact, we see changes happen to the TEC.
Exactly.
Which is crazy. So that means that if they don't do their jobs correctly, someone goes back in time and stops time travel from existing, that guy's stranded.
Yeah.
No way to get back because the TEC doesn't exist anymore. The ending also, because there is no fixed point thing, the ending is especially funny because Jean-Claude Van Damme comes back. Nobody else knows about the events of the movie except for him. Jean-Claude Van Damme. But it also means that he has no clue at all what his son and his wife have been doing for the last 10 years.
He doesn't know his kid's name.
He doesn't know his kid's name. He doesn't know fucking anything.
He has to pick up his own life.
So he goes back to his house and his son is there and he's just surprised and he's like, oh.
He runs out, picks him up. And
he's so happy. But I'm just like, how horrifying is that? When your son is like, oh, Dad, here, like, are we going to go to this game like you said we would? And he's just like, what game? What are you talking about? But it's not only is it that, it's for everything. He doesn't know what his kid likes to eat. He doesn't know where he goes to school. Yep. He doesn't know what his dipshit friends are named. He doesn't know anything about this kid. He's like, if you dropped me at that house, I would know as much as Jean-Claude Van Damme does about his family. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. It's wild.
That is bananas.
And it's a happy ending.
It is.
It's a happy ending.
Like a happy ending.
Kid is going to have so much therapy in 2024 because he's just like, my dad never loved me. He didn't know anything about me.
He didn't pay attention to anything I said in my childhood.
Well, that kid
when I was 10. I distinctly remember him not remembering shit.
That kid is like, 30 now.
Yeah.
That kid turned 30 recently.
He is now a senator.
He is now a senator, yeah.
He's planning a time heist.
The next time I meet someone and they're like, yeah, my weird Belgium dad completely forgot everything about my childhood when I was 10 years old, I'd be like,
I knew it.
You're Henry Timecop. You're Maxwell Walker Jr.
I do have to bring this up because it was the last thing on my notes, and it's just that the Foley during the fight scenes is so weird.
It's so loud at times.
Yes.
Every knife sounds like it's a katana.
Yep.
Just swinging through the air, and I'm just they're like little knives. They're just like regular combat knives.
Yes. All of the kicks landing sound like bone-breaking blows. And
well, he kicks very hard, and he's still kicking, right? So he must be on Broadway. It's the only answer. Yes, it's insane. The Foley artist was like, was like, okay, well, what's the budget for this? And they're just like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, and he's like, okay.
So he
just went
cabbage.
fucking nuts.
Or they sent him the first thing they sent him was the car flies into the wall and then they walk out the other side and he went, oh, it's that movie. Okay, cool.
All right, great.
Let me get out all my celery.
I like to think he got like the first note from the director like pissed him off, and then he went full malicious compliance on it. Where he's like, the director's like, I feel like the knives should be louder, and he's just like, oh fuck you. You
My
want
knives are perfect. You want them louder?
I'll make them louder. I'll make them so loud. And so he just like hated the director and just turned everything all the way up to 11. That's what I think happened.
I'm gonna swing so many pipes around in my studio.
Very logical. Mm-hmm. He had a picture of the director's face on each head of lettuce.
Those are the only answers. That, or we're supposed to believe that Jean-Claude Van Damme is a superhero.
Yeah, like that's logical.
Yeah.
So, Warwick, would you say that Timecop is worth your time?
Yes, I think that Timecop is worth your time. The caveat that I will add to that is that this is an insane film that is very weird and very crazy. So if you are watching this expecting Citizen Kane, don't do that. But if you're looking for something that's like Point Break level, yeah, then absolutely it's worth your time.
And luckily, it's relatively short.
Yeah, it's 90 minutes.
Yeah.
The golden age of cinema when nothing was over 2 hours long.
Yeah, thanks, Christopher Nolan.
Christopher Nolan, who's like, you gotta go to the theater and sit through my 4-hour film about sand on Dunkirk or whatever.
I love the movie theater experience, but having to sit there each time for 3.5 hours or more for bullshit that could have been 2 movies instead of 1 is so annoying.
It's so funny that Nolan is the one that is so hard up on this, because I saw Interstellar in the theater and I was miserable. Yeah. I hated it. It's so goddamn long. I saw Tenet at home in the comfort of my own home, and I just watched like half of it and stopped and did other things. And then I watched like the second half the next day, and I liked it a lot more.
It's great.
Because I wasn't held captive by Christopher Nolan's 4-hour runtimes and like all of the dead wives that he puts in every one of his movies.
And I mean, to be fair, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings was also like that for me, because I really had to go to the bathroom during the third one. And I was just like, oh my God, it's over. Nope. Here's another ending. Nope. Here's another ending.
I think everyone had that experience the first time they saw that movie, because we're all
just like
out. You're like, okay, yeah, all right, we're about ready.
You start getting out of your chair. It's like, oh nope, Frodo's getting on the boat. All right, start getting. Oh nope, they're at the Shire. All right, yep.
And at a certain point,
like, Bilbo sure is old.
And this is back in the day before you could like up your parking, on your phone, and so everyone's like, "Oh, that meter's running out." I thought,
how many more endings?
No, I thought 4 hours would be enough. It was not enough time.
I mean, have you guys seen James Cameron's recent take on this?
James Cameron,
because apparently the new Avatar is going to be just redonkulously long,
and there's 3 of them.
There's no point. I refuse to watch the new Avatar movie. I'm not going to see any.
The only Avatar sequel that I will give my money to is
The Last Airbender.
No. I mean, well, maybe. Yeah, I mean, it'll be on Netflix. Yeah, I think, right? I think that.
I think that. I actually do think that it is.
But the only money that I'm going to be giving James Cameron for Blue People is if I'm in Disney's Animal Kingdom going to Pandora, because that shit is cool. They have floating mountains. The Imagineers actually made floating mountains work, and that's so fucking sick. And I would gladly pay to go see that. But I'm not going to sit in the fucking theater for 18 hours to watch 3 more sequels.
I might watch it in IMAX 3D. Just because the first one in IMAX 3D was such a visual experience. But I think I need to be drunk.
This is where I point out that it was a visual spectacle. And that movie came out 13 years ago.
13 years ago. It was mind-blowing.
13 years ago. I don't want to see a sequel to that now. I didn't see Wall Street 2.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the perpetual jerking off of Michael Douglas.
Don't get me wrong,
I didn't
I'm not
see
looking
that.
forward to it. But, like, if somebody else really super wants to see it, I'm going to insist on IMAX 3D.
I will
And drinks.
If Avatar 2 is just Miles Teller running around trying to get the approval of a very harsh older Jake played by Tom Cruise, then maybe. Oh wait, no, that's Top Gun.
That's
Right.
Top Gun.
Sorry,
Top
yes,
Gun.
that's
Yep.
Sorry,
Top
that's
Gun.
Top Gun. That's just Top Gun
Much
again.
better film, yeah.
Yeah. No.
But
if
no,
you
so
do Top
apparently-
Gun Maverick and just paint everyone blue.
Ooh. I'd watch that. I'd watch that edit.
Yep.
If you took Whiplash and painted everyone blue.
If you took Fan Four Stick and painted everyone the Thing.
Aw.
Wow. But yeah, apparently James Cameron is like, yeah, the movie's 4 hours long. Get up and pee. You're fine.
You're not gonna miss anything.
Miss anything.
What movie is James Cameron ripping off for the sequel? Is what I'd like to know.
Yeah, I want to know.
Is it because it's not going to be a weird pastiche of
Fern Gully
Fern
has
Gully?
sequels.
Yeah, we've already done.
Does it?
Yeah.
We've done Fern Gully / Pocahontas. Maybe-
Slash last what was the Dances Wolves?
Dances with Wolves.
Dances Wolves.
Maybe this one's going to be like Mulan and
Moulin
Anastasia.
Rouge.
Mulan and
Moulin Rouge. Yeah,
That'd be a good
combine those
mix-up.
two. Because both have a lot of
Some,
singing
like,
in
Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, thrown in
it.
there.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be great. The Lighthouse.
Okay.
Maybe throw a little prestige in there. And then, of course, Goofy movie.
Right. You need that.
You need the Goofy.
Because the
Jake and his son.
How do we?
Jake takes his son fishing.
There you go.
there is a lot of water in the next Avatar sequel. 'cause-
How do we sneak the Goofy movie into this show? That's what I want to know.
Is that not a time travel movie?
I mean, they travel and it takes time.
True.
So
It's a much slower form of time travel.
You could argue that Powerline is Max grown up who's come back in time to
There it
entertain his
is.
fellow
That's
self
how-
and
that's what we're doing.
reunite him and his dad. That's
I like
it.
it.
have we
That's
already
the take on
talked
it.
about this on this show? Have we already talked about Powerline
I don't think so.
and how it? So
It's a very catchy
this
song.
is a dumb tangent, but
Okay.
okay. It's a very catchy song, right?
Yep.
It's an incredibly catchy song. Reminds you of Prince, right?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So they wanted Prince,
Right.
That makes sense.
but they couldn't get Prince.
Exactly.
Right. He will only appear on New Girl episodes.
For some reason unexplained, Prince was just like, nah, I don't wanna. So they got
Tevin Campbell. Right.
who studied under Prince. They recorded it in Prince's studio with Prince's band. So it's basically just a Prince song, absent Prince himself. The individual.
That's-
all
I mean,
of the
that's a-
trappings of Prince.
That's a pretty big thing to not
It's a
have,
pretty big
though.
thing to not have, but like all the trappings of Prince.
Everything else is there except for the
except for
last
the
last
main,
piece
the
of the
main
puzzle.
most important part.
But I mean,
yeah.
Tevin
Interesting.
Campbell did a great
Campbell
job.
kills it.
And he's still killing it. They have reunion panels every once in a while, every few years, I think the last big milestone that was divisible by 5. They had a panel at D23, and Tevin Campbell just comes out at the end to perform the song, and he still got it. He had dancers and everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then you had Jason Marsden and Bill Farmer on the stage, just
I'm just
rocking out,
sad
being old.
that we don't hear from Tevin Campbell in any other context. Like,
Yeah.
why did this not launch an amazing career?
I mean-
He should have been the new Prince.
Yep.
That's true.
We
Should've.
lost the first one. We had a backup. What happened?
I know. He did have a pretty good run as a '90s R&B dude, though.
Did he?
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
But it's like he's kind of a deep cut, for most mainstream music fans.
I don't know who Tevin Campbell is. This
Yeah.
is where I admit that.
See, I knew who he was because my cousins from Chicago, were into R&B in the '90s. So they were just like, "Oh, Goofy movie, that's this artist," and then
Gotcha.
played his song and stuff, and I was like,
we
"Oh,
will
I know."
all be
that song."
listening to Tevin Campbell later tonight.
Yes.
I will. I'm gonna look into that now.
All right. So what about your
transition into the ending? I guess.
Yeah. Well, wait. What about you? Do you think that Timecop is worth the time?
I mean, it was ridiculous, but because it was so short, I think it was fun. So I mean, yeah, as long as you're not expecting, I don't know,
Citizen Kane.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think of a better movie than Citizen Kane, because there are plenty. Hot take. I don't like Citizen Kane.
Jurassic Park. No, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a better movie than
The Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse.
There are a lot of better movies than Citizen Kane.
Oh yeah.
Like Tu Wong Fu. As long as you're not expecting Tu Wong Fu. But.
well, this isn't Wong Fu at all.
What? A white man?
A white man? To John Woo, thanks for everything. Julie Newmar.
Jesus.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I'd say go watch Timecop. It's ridiculous.
You can watch it for free on Tubi right now.
You can watch it for free on Tubi right now.
There you go.
So that's why...
Sweet Tubi money. If I plug Tubi on every podcast I'm on, they'll buy me a sandwich.
Ooh.
It's Tubi. They're not gonna. It's gonna be like a plain ham and cheese. I know it, but that's
it's like
okay.
A 7-Eleven sandwich.
Yeah, it's like a 7. Tubi's not made of money. You know,
I mean, it's a free service.
Tubi's not made of sandwiches.
Tubi's.
They don't have Potbelly money.
Nope. Oh God, no.
What do you think? They're Prime Video.
Yeah, well, they're not even Freevee or whatever that one is called.
It is Freevee. Yeah.
Freevee, Pluto TV. I'm just. Crunchyroll?
Shudder.
Shudder.
Oh God, what's the one? Crackle.
Oh yeah, no, they do not have Crackle money. That is for sure.
Roku. They're not Roku.
Yeah. If you go on Shudder, no, I'm just kidding.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, do it.
Do it.
Yes.
Go on Shudder. Go watch Revealer right now.
Yes, do it.
We've talked about Revealer a lot.
Do it.
Almost as though a recurring guest host on this show is in the movie.
That's true.
Oh wait, Shayna's a recurring guest host?
Yeah.
That's crazy. What if I was like Bishop Stevens is a recurring guest host? The only other person in the film?
Right.
Go watch Revealer, and then maybe there will be a prequel called Revealed. No wait, that would be the sequel.
Yeah. The dresser?
Teaser.
Teaser?
The teaser. Revealer.
Like
it could also take place in a strip club.
Yeah.
Or a peep show.
Yeah.
We should call Luke and Mike and Tim.
Hey
guys, we have an idea.
I don't have any of their numbers. I will DM them on Twitter.
They're Chicago comics people, and you don't know them?
I don't have their phone numbers. We're not like that good of friends. We're like acquaintances. We're work acquaintances.
All right, so then call
They're
Art
nice
Balthazar
guys.
And Franco and.
Or maybe I will. Maybe I will. And I'll be like, hey, when are we getting an AEW? AEW.
I mean, they already have Frank Kazarian and Christopher Daniels.
It's true.
In the All universe.
Yeah. So we need to get that tie-in going for All Out.
With Danhausen.
Love that.
Love that Danhausen.
Anyway, go watch Revealer right now.
Yeah.
Do it.
We've gotten to the part of the show where I don't know any of the words they're saying.
Well, party people, thank you for tuning in to our review episode on Timecop.
Time to cop.
Time to cop. Two cop, two party.
Yep.
I didn't say time at all in that.
Nope.
Party to
Cop to the
cop.
future.
Tokyo Cop.
Cop to the future. A-cab.
Cop drift. A-cab. All time cops are bastards.
Correct. You can find us on the internet. I'm at Silverio20 on Instagram and Twitter.
I'm at Warwick_Johnson on Twitter.
I'm at Indecisionist on Twitter and at The Indecisionist on Instagram.
You can join the conversation by using the hashtag #TimeToParty. That is time, the number 2 party. And, you know,
That's a very long hashtag.
Time to
Oh, they don't have to write that whole thing.
No.
They don't have to write the number.
Oh, okay.
Time the number 2 party. You know what? For this episode, for the second episode, let's use the hashtag time the number 2 party.
I guarantee you we'd be the only ones in that hashtag.
That's fine.
Finally. I thought we were safe before, and then some other ding-dong came along.
Oh, no.
We need to time cop his ass.
Yeah.
We got to time cop the other time to parties.
We got to time top his ass. Oh, wait.
Time top.
Time top.
That's time cops.
There it is.
Time cops. Time tops.
Time tops. It was right there. Why couldn't they?
Oh, okay.
I'm
sorry. Especially time cops should have used time tops because that's terrific.
Yeah.
I love that.
But time cock is...
Time cocks is pretty good, but it's also expected. That's why I think time tops is better. Yeah.
It's a real thinker.
It's a real thinker, which is what you want with your gay porn.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All your porn, really.
It's true.
Got to stand out on the shelf.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, April O'Neil put a female doctor in her Doctor Who porn parody before the actual show put a female doctor on the show.
There you go.
So you got to stand out somehow.
Just trailblazing.
She is a trailblazer. I'm not going to keep talking about porn.
It's all right.
Just stop talking about porn.
Hey, sex work is work.
Sex work is work.
It is.
Go hug a sex worker today consensually. If both parties agree to it.
Right. Or pay them.
Yeah, pay them, and then if consensually you both agree to it, hug them.
Yeah.
And watch Revealer on Shudder.
Yeah, unrelatedly. Also, just watch Revealer on Shudder. Also, buy my book.
Buy my book.
If you go to kingmakercomics.com, you can get The Empty Grave. It's a very good book.
It is a very good book. I've read it.
See? It's about a bounty hunter in the Old West who comes back to life to get revenge on the people that killed her. I would just work at convention, so I said that for 3 days straight, over and over and over and over and over again.
That's why it sounded so good.
And another cool
polished
thing
now.
Another cool thing about the book is that Warwick's Chicago comics friends have contributed some guest art to the book.
The final chapter of The Empty Grave, because when you buy the complete collection, you get all 4 issues, but the final issue has guest appearances from the likes of noted Chicago luminaries like Ali Canarella, Jim Terry, Jason Muir, various other people like my buddy Brian Vander, who's a terrific artist, Alex Newman, Stephen Yu. That's all of them. I've now named everyone. Newman. So buy it. It looks great, and it's a very cool book, and you'll be like, wow, this is really good. When are you going to make more of it? And I'll be like, I don't know. I've got other stuff that I'm doing. Sorry. Got too real there. But buy it, and let's make that happen.
Maybe if you buy more of them, I'll do it.
Yeah. If you buy, the only way to get me to make more Empty Grave is for you to buy all of these books. I have a stack of books in the corner of my bedroom that I want to get rid of. So it's up to you, universe. If you buy 75 copies of this book, maybe I'll do it.
That's convenient because I need one.
Hey, there we go.
Haha.
There's one.
Aha.
There you go. All right, party people. While you're contemplating getting that sweet, sweet JCVD malt, be sure to tune in next time when we do our best to edutain you with some fun facts inspired by Timecop.
Special thanks to April Moralba for our podcast art and to Marlon Longid of Marlon and the Shakes for our amazing theme song. This has been an Indecisionist production.
So, until then, party people, be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes.
Do drugs.
Yeah!